Okay. Two more minutes. And we will begin. Thank you all for joining in. Welcome. We're so happy to have you join us in this webinar. Join us in the conversation on dyslexia. Welcome. One more minute, and then we will proceed. Hello. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. To start, one more minute. All right, let me just wait. One more minute. Hopefully someone else will join us. One more minute. Okay. Hi. Can you hear me? Please let me know if you can hear me clearly.
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Welcome, Adams. Good to have you. Welcome, Justin. Good to have you. Welcome, Meticulous. Good to have you. It's a delight to have everyone here. Welcome. It's a pleasure to have you all. Okay, it's time and we will begin. Good morning. Over here, it's morning here in Nigeria. It's morning. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. This is a special welcome to each and every one of you. Please, before we proceed with anything, I would like to know where you're coming from. Please, can you send in the chat box where you're coming from? I would like to read, to know where you're coming from. Tell us your name, where you're coming from. We'd like to hear a bit about you, to know where you're joining in from. Just quickly send it in the chat box, your name. Okay, Adams coming from Abuja. Thank you, Adams. We're so glad to have you. I know there are more people. Can we please send in where we're coming from? We'd like to see. Yes, okay, Atinuke from Manchester, UK. It's a delight to have you. Thank you for joining us. Yes, let's see the messages popping in. Okay, Chinelo, yay! From Manchester, UK, thank you. Justin from UK, London, UK, thank you for joining in. We're so glad to have you. Mr. Nyekan from Abuja, thank you for joining in. Gina from England, thank you for joining in. Welcome, welcome. Do we have more people? More people, can you please send in where you're coming from? Would like to see. I can see an Infinite Smart. I don't know where you're coming from. Can you share? Okay, Anastasia from Abuja. Thank you for sharing. It's a delight to have you. It's a delight to have every one of you join us in this webinar today. And today we're going to have more like a discussion where we would share our knowledge on dyslexia. My name is Miss Ruth Anyekan Gamble, and today I will be co-hosting this webinar alongside Miss Meticulous. It's a pleasure to have you, and I'm pleased to let you know that we're also having guests join us today, special guests, who will be sharing their knowledge and insights with us on dyslexia. I know that this webinar is going to be an insightful one because you'll see for yourself, you're going to hear real life experiences, and I'm sure that at the end of the day, you will also be a dyslexia advocate. Thank you for joining in one more time. Now, before I proceed, I would like to ask a quick question. When you hear the word dyslexia, what comes to mind? Can you please send your answers in the chat box? What comes to your mind when you hear the word dyslexia? What comes to mind? What comes to play? What comes to mind? If you would like to share, you can indicate by putting on your hand using the emoji, and then I would ask you to unmute and speak. However, you can send in your chats in the chat box. Just let us know what you think, what comes to mind when you hear the word dyslexia. What is it all about? What is dyslexia all about? What comes to mind? Yes, I'll just give us 2 minutes to do that. Anybody that would like to share? Okay. First thing I think of when I hear dyslexia is someone with learning difficulty. Thank you so much, Mr. Adams, for sharing. That's very insightful. Thank you. Yes, any other person? When you hear the word dyslexia, what comes to mind? What exactly comes to mind? What comes to play? For some people, they think, oh, maybe it's some kind of disease, or maybe some kind of, okay, I have another response from Mr. Justin. He said, someone who struggles to read. Wow. Thank you from Mr. Anyekan. He said, dyslexia, someone who is socially awkward. Wow. These answers are not far from what dyslexia really means, but I do hope that at the end of this webinar, like I said, you have more in-depth insight to what, oh, wow, oh, this is so touching. I have Professor Ezekiel saying, what comes to my mind now is my daughter. Thank you for sharing. That's really brave of you, sir. Thank you. So at the end of today, oh, wow, I have more comments coming in. So this person said, from Benny for Christ, says dyslexia is a learning disorder that affects an individual's ability to read, write, and spell. It is characterized by difficulties with phonological processing. Wow. It seems we have dyslexia experts in the house. Yay. That's a good one. Thank you. You basically just took the words out of my mouth. Of course, dyslexia is a learning disability, right? And it affects individual when it comes to reading, writing, and spelling. At the end of this webinar, like I said, you will have, if you already have probably a surface knowledge of what dyslexia is all about, you will have in-depth knowledge of what it truly is all about. And we hope that you will be a dyslexia advocate at the end of the day, or when you cross paths with a dyslexic, you know how to best interact with them, and or how to provide solutions or help to whoever it is. Now, thank you. We will just quickly move on to our next session. I don't know if I just want to be sure. Please, is Miss Mary in? Miss Mary, are you in? Okay. Miss Mary, okay. Miss Mary is here to join us, but we will continue. So I would like to share from my experience with you how I stumbled on the word dyslexia. Now, it so happened as far back as 2017, I was opportuned to be a homeroom teacher for year 5 learners. Now, while I was in class, I was a new teacher. I just got in and I tried as much as possible, to do my best, my bit as a teacher. Well, I noticed something in my classroom. There was a particular child that was struggling. Now, my colleagues, they had written her off. They had written her off completely. They were like, this person, she's too dull. We don't think she can ever get help. She's probably coming from the village. Her background has affected her and all of that. There are lots of conversations surrounding that particular child. Looking at her, I could see the zeal. She really wanted to learn, right? She had the zeal, she had the passion, but she was struggling. And so I brought her closer and started asking questions. What do you see? How do you feel? I started asking questions. When I give her a task to carry out, I noticed that it's probably done haphazardly, not because it was intentional. I hope as I'm saying this, I'm sure maybe if you're a teacher or so, this would be more relatable, right? Now, it wasn't like she was not putting in the effort. She was. I could see she was putting in the effort, but still she was struggling. So I decided to start doing research. I started Googling, I went on Google, I started making research. Why I would put on the signs that I saw as a then. And at the end of the day, I stumbled on the word dyslexia. I was like, oh, wow. So this is something really. And when I saw the signs, everything aligned with what this particular child was struggling with. My teacher mood became activated, and quickly, with a little research, I was able to help that child using structured literacy programs. I was able to help the child, with just little here and there, some text to speech tools. Then we didn't have, like big gadgets. So sometimes I'll just get like iPad, right? And then put some materials. And I discovered that at the end of the academic session, this girl who was struggling with her letter sound made progress, not just any kind of progress. She was able to blend. She was able to blend her words, right? She moved from not knowing her letter sounds to blending her words and then reading CVC words, when I say CVC words. And for me, that was a good progress because this was someone who couldn't read, who couldn't spell, but at the end of that academic session, her confidence also, there was a boost in her confidence. So, why am I sharing this with you? You'll find out more that in the world today, we have people in our classrooms, probably in our families that are dyslexic, and you don't know. You might be feeling, oh, this person might be so dumb. Well, they don't know anything at all. But by the end of this webinar, I'm sure you'll be able to sit, think, and use what you have to be able to help others around you. All right, I think I have Miss Mary here. Miss Mary, are you here? Miss Mary, are you here? Hello?
Good morning, I'm here.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, can you hear me?
Good morning,
I'm here.
yes. Okay, quickly, we'll dive into our session for today. Do you have your slide? Do I make you the co-host so that you can project from your end?
Yes, I have my slide.
Okay, so I'm going to make you a
Can you hear
co-host.
me?
Yes, I'm going to make you a co-host. All right, Before Miss Mary comes up, now here is what Coach B, the dyslexia expert, is currently in the schools. However, she sent in someone to Miss Mary, rather, to step in for her. I assure you that Miss Mary is also on fire. She has a lot that she's going to share with us. But before I dive into that, I would like to quickly share, just read a little of her profile. And I want us to please pay rapt attention because we will be learning a lot from Miss Mary. So Miss Mary Imabong is a passionate educator and a dyslexia advocate with a background in biochemistry and a PGD in education. She holds a certificate in training from the prestigious Dyslexia Intensive Certificate course by Dyslexia Help Africa, where she also served as a training coordinator. With over 14 years of teaching experience, she has worked with learners aged 3 to 20. Mary is the head teacher, administrator, and dyslexia coach at Dyslexia Help Learning Academy. She also volunteers as project administrator for Dyslexia Project Africa, promoting inclusion and empowering every child to learn in their unique way. Please, can we give it up for Miss Mary Imabong as she comes up? Please, I want to see your emojis in the chat box. Let's give it up for her as she comes on quickly. Yes. Let's give it up for Miss Mary.
Okay, thank you so much.
Your emojis. Miss Mary, hold on, don't come up yet. I want to see their reactions in the chat box. I want to see their reactions. Let's give it up for Miss Mary. Thank you. All right, Miss Mary, please, over to you. You can share. I think you can share now. Thank you for the love. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and good morning again. So forgive me, I might not be able to turn on my camera, but I will be giving you lots of information about dyslexia, especially as we have been able to experience it and seen outstanding performances with the kids that have been brought to the academy. So I will be sharing my slide. So can you see my slide?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just give me a few minutes. Okay. Okay, so can you see my slide?
Yes, we can. We can see your slides clearly.
Okay, is there anything obstructing by the side?
No, there is none.
Okay, so it's just from my end. Okay, so I will be delving into talking about voices of experience, living, learning, and thriving with dyslexia. So as the co-host has said, Ruth, we have actually experienced a lot with these individuals. First of all, you want to ask yourself, what is dyslexia? Basically, it's a neurological disorder indicating that it's not their fault. It has to do with the brain, the way their brain is wired. It doesn't mean they're crazy. Okay, it doesn't mean they're crazy. It doesn't mean they're stupid. It doesn't mean they're dumb. Okay, it does mean that they need a special way of being taught how to read. So basically, the emphasis is on reading because it affects the way a child reads. It could be accompanied with dysgraphia, which is a disorder with handwriting, or even dyscalculia, which is a disorder with math. So basically, um, I will be talking about the kids, especially the kids as we have at this academy. Okay, so I will be using names to represent them. So in this particular case study, we're going to be talking about Binta. Binta's case. When she came to the academy, she was 6 years old. Um, she could not read at all. Her reading was just, she couldn't even identify letter names and sounds. What I mean by letter names and sounds, when you talk about letter names, you're talking about things like, when you talk about letter names, think about when you're singing the alphabet A, B, C, D. She couldn't even identify, differentiate between the sounds and the letter names. When you talk about sounds like A, B, K, so she couldn't really identify or differentiate between the two. And when a child can't differentiate between the two, then a challenge in reading is actually going to set in. So she was a non-reader who initially assessed, okay, when she came in, we actually carried out an assessment. An assessment has to be done because you need to know where to place the child. You need to know if you have to go back to the basics or if the child has actually understood the basics but cannot actually blend the words or blend the sounds together to create words. So an assessment has to be done, which is what we did. So when we carried out this assessment, Binta was at the kindergarten level. Even with that, she still struggled to read. I remember in class, there was a particular time she almost wanted to give up. These were like, it was a very, very simple story, but she just wanted to give up. Okay, so despite the low placement, she still struggled and the learning process was difficult, often leading to moments where she wanted to give up in class. The intervention required constant encouragement from her mom to keep her engaged and moving forward. So at each point in time, her mom was actually always sitting with her in class. So what did we do? When she came in, we, like what Ruth said, we carried her through the process. We had to go back to the basics. That's the foundation. There's a saying that says that if a foundation is faulty, what can you do? So if the foundation is faulty in in the alphabets, that's between trying how to differentiate between the letter names and sounds, what can an individual with dyslexia do? Nothing at all. So the basics had to be gone. We had to go back to the basics. And this is where the structured literacy approach comes in. Why this particular approach is very good is because it can be used for both neurodivergent and neurotypical children. What I mean by neurotypical children is children that don't have a specific type of brain. Okay, and then when we talk about neurodivergent, we're talking about individuals with series of disorders. But instead of tagging them with such, I call it with such, instead of stigmatizing them, we prefer to call them neurodivergent and neurotypical children. So going back to the basis, we had to let her differentiate between the letters, names, and sounds, and we had to inculcate the multisensory approach. Meanwhile, I would like to say that the academy is basically although we are hybrid, we have a on-site um, center, but most of our teachings are done virtually. So just imagine trying to do the multisensory approach. Okay, for those of you that don't know what the multisensory approach is, it just basically has to do when you're teaching a child. I use acronyms to shorten it so that I remember. So we have VAST, the V for visual, your child has to be able to see what you're teaching. Visuals could be images. The second one is auditory. Your child should be able to hear what you're saying. Or yeah, for example, if you're teaching about the letter the sound your child should be able to at least hear, maybe in songs. And then when you're talking about sensory, a child should be able to use their fingers to actually feel. Yes, feel it. And then when you talked about sensory and tactile are interwoven, that's what the S and T stand for. They're interwoven. So they basically have to do with the sensories of the body, basically the fingertips, and then movements like tactile movements, maybe the child dancing to the music. So basically, that's what we did, and we took a series of three series of sounds. It was, I won't say it was challenging, but when parents come, they always want like magic. They think it's magic. Oh, my child is not reading at least between 3 months. It's not done that way. It cannot even be done that way. The child has to be, especially when the foundation is faulty, the child has to be taken through series of steps. So you start with your, like what Ruth said, start with your identification of letter names and sounds. Start with um, uh, long and short vowels, very important. If a child has a difficulty identifying long and short vowels, they will actually have an issue with the silent E. So you want to make sure that your child understands that. But if the child doesn't understand that, you can progress to um, regular and irregular two-letter words. Then from them you progress to CVC words, and then you try the silent E. If your child still doesn't understand the silent E by then, you can then progress to your bossy R. But meanwhile, you are trying to introduce games. Like me, I like virtual interactive games. Virtual interactive games like that will actually make the child use their fingers to trace letters, listen to songs, think outside their box. That's what I like using. So with her current result now, I just had a class with her like this week actually. I think it was on Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday, where she got 85% in her class. This was someone she's in grade 5 now. Yes, she's in grade 5 now. She got 85%. This was someone that could not read. When she came, she could not read. She's actually 8, 9 now. So you can imagine, like, it was not a short process. It wasn't magic as some parents want it to be. So it was, and thank God for the parents' patience. That is why we always encourage parents to have patience. It's not magic. So right now, 85%. Wow, that is an achievement. So let me read. Brinta's current results show significant success. She can now read and is achieving 85% in her class, which is noted as a huge improvement. Her mother is consistently overjoyed and happy with her progress. So her mom, we actually had an interview. No, we actually had a discussion with the mom. The mom was overjoyed. This was a parent that came in just to test the structure that we had put in place. She has now stayed for over how many years? She came in when she was 6, now she's 9. So you can count the number of years she has actually stayed from someone that wanted to just test, from someone that is actually happy with the results. So it just goes to show that individuals with dyslexia actually have a chance of actually becoming a better version of themselves. They just need a specific strategy. So they shouldn't be cast aside. And then I don't know if I have enough time. I just want to mention one particular striking individual in our academy too. All of them are doing great. So this particular lady, I'll call her Jane. Okay, let me call her. Let me call her Tala too. Her name is Tala too. Okay, she came in when she was 9 years old too, and she's now 15. When she came in, she couldn't read or write. We what we did with her, with every child that comes, you kind of assess them. Yes, we carried an assessment. She also had challenges with her letter names and sounds. So we had to go back to the basics. So we carried the same process for which we did with Binta. So with each particular sound, encoding has to be done, decoding has to be done first of all. So encoding means spelling the word, introducing the child to the sound and then spelling the word. Decoding means prompting the child to read the word. Usually we ask them to break them into syllables. Most of the time, when they come across words they don't recognize, the words have to be broken into syllables. So, for example, let's say we have the O sound, trying to teach the child how to read. First of all, you have to start with this one syllable words. You don't just jump them. You don't just throw them into multi-syllable words. You have to do words like goats. So you have to go oats. You have to teach them how to how to decode the word. So from decoding now, you progress to reading sentences with these words. Majorly, you have to inculcate sounds you have taught them. You don't really want to introduce sounds that they are not aware of. So introduce sounds in words that you have actually taught them. That will actually speed up the process. So from reading sentences, now you now progress to writing sentences. Then when you're comfortable enough, you now introduce short stories. So with this particular Talatu, this is the same process we did. And then there's something we did. We looked for her strength. So her strength was writing. She loved writing. She loved writing stories. She loved writing poems. So before when she was in Nigeria, that was primary 5. She actually entered. We encouraged her to enter for a competition. She didn't actually win, but that particular move actually made her bolder. It gave her the confidence we need. Because you should understand that most of these individuals with dyslexia don't have confidence in themselves. That is why another thing, you need to be careful with your words. I entered a virtual class one day and a mom was insulting her child for like 30 good minutes. I stood there, I was just listening in class. We had to cancel everything for that day and just focus on trying to build her confidence back. So that aside, I'm going back to the story. So Talatu entered for this competition and developed some boldness. So her parents now migrated to the UK. In her first school she went, through encouragement again, she asked me, I told her, yes, she can go for the competition. So we worked on her confidence level because it was a bit low. Confidence level, she was actually scared of she had the stage fright. So we had to work on her confidence, had to tell her I believe in her and all that. By the time she went and came back, she herself was shocked. She got second position. So she was overjoyed. Then she entered for another, that now gave her more confidence. So she entered for another competition. And guess what? This time around, she became one of those that was picked out for her poem to be featured in Through Your Eyes. Because she wrote a poem titled A Grandfather's Tale, where she was actually asked to see through the eyes of an individual. So she chose the eyes of a man who had been at war and who was actually sitting by the window side, reminiscing about what he had actually gone through, the experiences he had actually gone through. So it was taking him back so his grandchildren now had to call his attention back to the present. So her poem actually won and was actually featured. She was actually very overjoyed. And then another plus was that during the process when she was transitioning to the UK, she was writing a book. Her book is about to be featured on Amazon too. So that is a huge win. So it just goes to say we need to actually focus on their strengths in as much as you're trying to strengthen their weaknesses. Look for what is that child, that individual, what are they good at? So basically that is the application. So it just like in conclusion, I'd just like to say that the application of structured literacy approach is very successful and transition these children from non-readers struggling at the kindergarten level to proficient readers. Now Nana is reading. She's in grade 5 now. Binta is actually reading. She's in grade 5 now. Yes, she's about to transition into secondary school. So you can see the success story here. They came in as non-readers, but are actually now proficient readers. So thank you. I know it was a short presentation. I'm about logging into a virtual class. So thank you very much for having me, and I apologize again for not turning on my camera.
Oh, it's fine. Thank you. You did a lot. I learned a lot. Thank you. Can we please give her a round of applause, in the chat box? Thank you so much, Miss Mary. The stories were very insightful. I learned a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining in. I knew this was last minute, but you showed up strong. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. So in all, when we see someone who is struggling, do not go ahead and damage their self-esteem, because you never know where they are coming from. You do not know their background. What you should do rather is to encourage them and putting the right strategies in place, structured literacy and the others, building the right foundation. They will definitely catch up. Okay, thank you so much, Miss Mary. I'm going to take it up from here. And Miss Meticulous, are you there? Miss Meticulous,
Yes,
are
I'm
you
here.
there?
I'm
Okay,
here.
over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's really good to have you all in this session today. To our next section, where we will have a second speaker. She's also a co-host in the Dyslexia Awareness Webinar, which we have today. She's so passionate with 7 years of experience in teaching students in an inclusive classroom. Let me quickly read her profile. Mrs. Ruth Anyekan Gamble is a passionate licensed educator with over 7 years of experience teaching in inclusive classrooms. She currently teaches at Glowing Age Academy, one of Nigeria's prestigious schools. A dedicated dyslexia advocate, Ruth is committed to raising awareness and promoting inclusion, especially in rural communities where dyslexia remains little known. She also runs an online platform, the Daisy Ducks Book Club, which inspires learners aged 5 to 15 to read, lead, and succeed through engaging literacy and leadership activities. With this, please help me welcome Mrs. Ruth Anyekan to take us in the second session. Please let me see your engagement in the comment section. Miss Ruth, don't come up until they clap. I want to see your engagement. So energy, give us the energy in the comment section. Give us the energy in the chat box. Give us the energy. It's good to have you, Mrs. Ruth. Thank you. Over to you, Mrs. Ruth.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Can you all see my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. First thing first, there's someone interrupting the conversation. Please, can you mute your mics? Thank you. Kindly mute your mics. Okay, great. Now, welcome everyone. I am so excited to have you join us. As you know, I am a teacher and will try as much as possible not to put on my teacher's hat. Right. Now, as you know, the theme for this webinar says rewriting the narrative. The subtopic I'll be looking at says from struggle to strength. From struggle to strength. Let's take a quick look at my slide. Now, sorry, what's happening? Okay, it's taking a while. All right, so this is something I have here. I want someone to please unmute and just confidently read this short note. This note was written by a dyslexic person. So is there anyone that can make the effort? Please, anybody, you can indicate by raising your hand and then unmuting yourself. Just make the effort. It might not be perfect. Don't worry, I won't judge you. We listen, we don't judge. Okay, I have Ready Me. Ready Me, please make the effort. Let's hear you. Kindly unmute. Go on, go on. Unmute. Yes, Ready Me, go on. You can speak. You're still, okay. I have 2 hands. Ready Me, you can go on. Please unmute yourself. We can't hear you. We can't hear you still. You're probably speaking. Oh, sorry. I think I placed you on mute again. Please unmute yourself one more time. Please kindly unmute yourself one more time. Okay, while we're waiting. Okay, great.
I think you're not referring to the wrong person because I could see that I'm asked to unmute. This is Adam.
Pardon? We can hear you now. Please speak.
This is Adam, I say.
Yes, can you see my slide?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. Now, just quickly read what I have here. This was written by a dyslexic person. So imagine that you are a teacher. Go ahead and read. Let's hear you.
All right, let me try. Okay. Uphill is a great school, maybe the child means school, that I could see school for people that have dyslexia. Yeah. I have been learning a lot more lately. I love it, and I think that when I leave, I will be 100%. I can't say that one, but I will be sad. The, the okay, I can't say the other two words. I'm not sure how to pronounce
Thank you. That was a good effort. Although you were a little bit low, your volume wasn't as high as I expected, but it's all good. You did great. Thank you. That was so much. It was good. Well done. All right. I have another person. Precious, you want to make the effort? Let's go. Please unmute yourself. Precious Umfon. Kindly unmute yourself and speak. Go on.
Okay, thank you. Hawk Hill is a great school for people that have dyslexia. I have been learning a lot more lately. I love it, and I think that when I leave, I will do 100%. Sorry, I can't say the next word, but I will be very sad. I can't read the last words too.
Thank you. That was so helpful. Now, I want you to understand something. I would like to establish something. Dyslexic people are not lazy. They put in 40 times more effort than an average person who is non-dyslexic. Let me backtrack. Did you know that people who have dyslexia are often seen as creatives? That's because their minds are wired, their brains are wired differently. They are seen as creatives, they are seen as innovative problem solvers. Let's dive into more on what we have today. Remember, we're going to shift the lens on dyslexia from struggle to strength. Let me share with you the next slide. All right. So, dyslexia is often misunderstood, yet it affects millions globally. It is a difference in brain processing, not a flaw. It is not a disease. This presentation will guide you through embracing dyslexia as a unique strength. That's for those who have been diagnosed to have dyslexia. And for every child, maybe someone you've come in contact with, I want you to know that dyslexia has a unique strength, inspiring change in perception and fostering inclusive environments that empower every learner to thrive. If you're a teacher, you might be wondering, inclusive environments, I bet you most of the teachers teaching right now do not know, some of them do not know that they have already an inclusive classroom. An inclusive classroom in the sense that you have learners who are just okay, do not have any learning difficulty at all or learning disability at all. And you have learners in your classroom that are struggling. I hope that at the end of this slide, you will be able to foster inclusive environments that can empower every learner in your classroom, empower your learners to thrive. Okay, let's move on. Facing dyslexia can be daunting, but you are not alone. Embrace, support, and believe in your potentials. Your resilience inspires others. As a dyslexic, if you're feeling probably I have to deal with this, I want you to know that you are not alone. If you embrace the support and believe in your potentials, definitely you would move from struggling to strength. Let's quickly share some facts here. Do you know that dyslexia affects up to 1 in 5 children globally? Do you know that? What that means is that 1 in every 5 children, there's one child who has dyslexia. And this is a global data. Data also suggests that it is currently affecting 20% of the Nigerian population. So in Nigeria, we have, what that means technically, what that means is that if, for instance, you have 10 children in your classroom, two of those children are dyslexic. I need you to process that. Let's move on. It says it is a neurological difference impacting 10 to 15% of people worldwide. What that technically means, dyslexia is not written on the forehead. You cannot see it by mere looking at someone, by their facial expressions. It is a neurological difference. And of all learning disabilities, it is the most common learning disability. What does this mean? It probably means that in your day-to-day life, you might have seen people who, or you might have encountered people who are dyslexic. Now, let's take a back question. Have you ever had a situation where you tried as much as possible to explain something very simple to someone, but they are not just getting it? I have that experience. I've had that, in fact, more than once. I think probably, or if not every day, right? But we encounter these people. You're trying to tell them, but this is what I'm trying to tell you. They could be even in your office space. They could be in your family. They could be at the shopping mall. They could be in your classroom. You're trying to, this is BAT, B-A-T. But you're not getting it. You're writing A-B-T. Of course, because they struggle to read, they struggle to spell, they struggle to write. Why are you not just getting it? I want you to understand that, yes, we have dyslexia prevalent in the world. It shouldn't be a strange thing anymore as we go on in this webinar. All right, let's move on to the next. Today, I have the pleasure of letting you know that, yes, we have people who struggle with dyslexia, but from their struggle, they went to strength. First on my slide today is Albert Einstein. This man you all know, a Nobel Prize winner. He struggled with dyslexia. He didn't start talking until he was 4 years old. He didn't start reading until he was 9 years old. His teachers thought that he was a dullard, he was socially inept. But at the end of the day, this person's background work, Albert Einstein, contributed to the technology we have today. Of course, we can watch our televisions in our homes, thanks to Albert Einstein. Another person you know, you must have seen her in your screens, Whoopi. Yes, Whoopi also, at the early stage of her life, she said that people called her dumb, stupid. Those were the familiar words she had while growing up. It was later when she grew up, she realized that she was actually dyslexic, right? But I put it to you that this is an award Grammy actress. She has made a name for herself. What does this tell you? That there is strength in every dyslexic child. Next, I have Adunola Shoge. She beats the odds to become one of the best graduating students in one of the African universities. So what does this tell you also again? It is never an end game for a dyslexic. It is never the end for a dyslexic. They are not dumb, they have strength. Strength that you and I will discover. You and I can bring out if we put the right structures in place. Okay, I would like to move on, but before I do, I want you to know that today we have a special guest. She wasn't featured on the flyer, but she's a special person, and we're excited to have her join us. I'll quickly read her profile so you can see why I said she's special. She's going to come up and tell us about her dyslexic journey, tell us about her experience, enlighten us on how she went from struggling with these learning difficulties, this learning disability, to pushing through and doing so well for herself. But before I do that, I want you to take note of this quote. Dyslexia is not a limitation, but a unique perspective that unlocks creativity and resilience, turning challenges into strength. Take 5 seconds to process this. It is indeed not a limitation, but a unique perspective. Just see it this way. Dyslexic people think differently. They learn differently from the way any other person would learn. And they have unique strength. They have unique creativity, okay? And this, when they put in resilience, it can turn challenges into strength. Let's move on. Now, I would like to share with you our special guest for today, Chinelo Ezigbo. She's a qualified mental health nurse and social worker, a former disability analyst, and currently a mental health practitioner with the NHS in the United Kingdom. Growing up in Nigeria with undiagnosed dyslexia, she faced years of misunderstanding before finally being diagnosed as an adult in the UK. That journey inspired her ongoing advocacy for greater awareness and early recognition of dyslexia in Nigeria. Through her published articles, A Silent Struggle, Growing Up with Undiagnosed Dyslexia in Nigeria, and Mind the Gap, why Nigeria must confront its dyslexia crisis. She continues to shine a light on stigma, silence, and the current need for national awareness so that no child feels unseen for learning differently. Today, can we give it up for Chinelo as she comes on board? Miss Chinelo, are you there? Please would like to, can you unmute yourself, please, and speak? Are you there?
Yeah.
Yay! Can we give it up? Give it up! Give it up! Let me see your emojis, Miss Chinelo. You have to hold on. I want to see their reactions in the chat box. Let me see your hands. Let me see your hands clapping, clapping, clapping. Say welcome to Miss Chinelo. Welcome. We're delighted to see you. We're delighted to have you. Thank you, Justin. Thank you for the warm welcome. Over to you, Miss Chinelo.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you for the introduction. Thank you, Ruth, as well, for giving me this opportunity to talk about dyslexia. Thank you. I'm going to talk about my lived experience. When people see me today, they see someone that's confident, educated, and professionally accomplished. They see success. They don't see the little girl that I once was, confused, ashamed, and struggling to understand why school felt so hard. That's the story I want to share today. I grew up in Nigeria. My dad was a lecturer and my mom was a manager at one of the hotels in Nsukka as well. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and so there was no there was no word for that. In school then, they called me loads of names. It's a volleyball, that means stupid in Igbo. If you're Yoruba, it will be Olodo. I got called all that, and I lived with that shame for a long, long, long time. In class, when teachers are writing on the board, the words would jump around and move around, and I wouldn't understand what was going on. And because I was tall, so I sat at the back of the class as well, so I couldn't really see the board, and it was difficult to understand. So I struggled with that shame for a long time, and it followed me into adulthood. When teachers would mark my book, you know the slide you showed about the girl that was right that wrote that letter. That was me. And so my writing till date is rubbish because you're trying to hide that you can't spell. So you just put everything together so that when someone is reading, they can just make out what you're writing. And not that as well. We tend to simplify letters when we write because we can't spell the big words. And because of that, you lose marks in class. Because then in Nigeria, the teachers will look at the context and the words you're using to mark you. So if you simplify your words because you're not able to use those big words, you get marked down. So that was a constant struggle in school. And bless my dad would always come to school. I think my dad is here as well today.
Yeah, he is.
Bless my dad. At the end of every school year, the man would just show up. Like, just give her one more mark.
I can imagine.
One more mark, just one more mark, so that she wouldn't be, because I had like younger ones that were like behind me in class. They were like, I was in class 1, if I was in class 2, they'll be in class 2. My dad didn't want me to fall behind. So every end, you just go with like, just give this girl just one mark. Just one mark, so that she will graduate with her mates. It wasn't easy. It was really, really difficult because I'll be reading and it's not sinking in. And because I didn't know how to sound the words out, so I could form it was difficult growing up in Nigeria. It was difficult. Learning was difficult. But then you learn how to mask, pretend that you're going on. And then if I'm telling you, you're just nodding your head and just pretending that everything is sinking in, but meanwhile, it's not. And because that shame of like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just pick this up? What is going on with me? Bless my dad. My dad got me dozens of lesson teachers. Like,
wow. To see
lecturer
it.
lecturer salary, like my husband, lecturer salary. The guy would just be like, what's wrong with this girl? He got loads of lesson teachers who were grouping in and out of our house, trying to get me to understand what was going on. But bless them, they were unkind, didn't just understand how to teach me. It went on for years, and finally, so I left Nigeria in my 20s, and I came to England. And when I got here, I tried going back into school. Well, I was just there for a month, and I just dropped out because I just couldn't cope. And finally, 10 years later, I decided to go back. I decided to go back to do mental health nursing and social work. That was my field. I've been working in the field for 10 years. So I felt that, yes, okay, let's just go back and see. And luckily, the interview process was verbal. And because of my experience, I was able to get accepted in the course. And my thinking then was the course was 50% practical and 50% coursework. So I said, oh, okay, at least if I pass the practical, the coursework will be, just like one go my way in, just see how. I'm laughing about it now, but it wasn't funny back then.
Yeah.
Went for the orientation day. They gave us a talk on learning needs and support. That the guy was like saying, oh, if you're struggle with learning, you can come and do an assessment. And if you're dyslexic, I was like, what's this man talking about? They will give you a free laptop, they'll give you support and extra funding. I was like, the Nigerian girl in me was like, let me just go and see what free laptop.
Freebies. Yeah.
But then 5 minutes into the assessment, I realized that this wasn't just about the laptop. It was about understanding what was going on with me. I spoke, the lady sounded out some words like he said, and I couldn't for the life of me pronounce what she was saying. She gave me a paragraph to read, and I get word blindness when I read. So I tend to jump words when I read. And she was like, how did you manage? And I just started crying. She was like, I was just like crying, like, this was just like, oh my God, finally. There's a word for what I've been doing for all those years. The relief was immense. Like, it was like I was being seen for the first time. I was in my 30s. So for 30, I was finally like, oh my God, Chinedu, you're not dumb. You're not an idiot. You just learn differently. So when I got diagnosed, I was given because the words jump around on pages when I read, I was given a cover overlay. Mine was yellow that helped the words stay in. So when I'm reading, I'm able to see it. I was given extra time for my exams. I was given a sticker for when I do my coursework. So what a sticker means is when the lecturer is reading, because lecturers were trained on how to mark books. Like with that thing that letter that girl wrote. Now, if it was here, she will not be marked on her spelling. She will be marked on the context of what she's written. So when the context is there, they'll give her the mark. So that was with my coursework, I had stickers that I put on my coursework so that the lecturers would know that, okay, this girl is dyslexic. So when they're marking my work, they're taking that into consideration. They're not looking at my spelling. They're looking at, as long as I have the context, the gist of what they want, they'll give me the mark. I was also given time to submit my coursework. I was given like a week or two extra to submit my coursework. I was also given text to speech so that I could record my lectures, because I struggle with listening and writing at the same time. So in England, you can also have a scribe. I didn't get that. You can also have a scribe that if you struggle with writing or listening and writing, when you go for exams, you can just verbally tell the scribe the answers and the scribe will write it for you. So these things, with those things put in place for me, reading was like, it just opened up my mind on the possibilities of things I achieve. And I finally graduated with a combined degree. And then happy, my dad came for my flew from Nigeria. So proud.
Did he cry? Did he cry? Was there any reaction like that?
He flew from Nigeria and for my graduation. And I was so proud of myself. I was like, finally arrived. Finally arrived. So even since then, when I talk to my sister, I'm like, oh my God, I just want to like go back to Nigeria and see if there's anything I can do to help kids like me, because I know it wasn't easy growing up in Nigeria. And then when I started doing my research, I found that there were some organizations already on the ground in Nigeria doing the work. And I was like, oh my God, like Roots, you guys are doing amazing. Thank you. No, seriously, thank you so much. You guys are doing so much. I feel I'm getting quite emotional. You don't know what you're doing. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then the articles that I wrote as well was just to show that the first one I wrote, Silent Struggle, when I showed it to my dad, because he's an academician. When I tell him, oh, Daddy, I'm dyslexic, he'll be like, oh, you know what I'm even talking about? Like, until he read that article, he was like, oh my God, Chinelo, I didn't even know that you were going through this. And it just opened his eyes as well to what dyslexia was. He's done his research, he's did a lot of reading on the subject as well. So I think the feedback I got from the article as well was mind-blowing. Like people were calling me, like, I know someone that's doing this, my child is going through this. Oh my God, I didn't even know there's a word like this. So I'm glad that people are speaking out about this condition, and kids but there's still work to be done. There's still work to be done. And I hope this webinar today that the work has started. That the work has started. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. That's another.
Thank you. Okay, can you talk about, you shared with me some of the strategies that helped you, like the text to speech, like the color overlays. Yes, can you talk more about it?
Well, the color overlay, because the words, when I look at words, when I'm reading a paragraph, like something like that, yes, I'll need to put the cover all in. What it does, it keeps the word steady. The color makes it steady, so it's not jumping around. Jump around. The text to speech is, because I struggle, like when listening and writing, I can't I struggle with that. So even during when I was doing my assessment, that was because she would read something, she said I should write, and I struggled. I missed a lot of words that she said. So she said, I'm going to need that put in place for me so that I can record my lectures and I can go back and listen to it. Because then my attention span is quite short. After like 5 minutes, my mind tends to wander and I start daydreaming. So to help me with that was why the recording was put in place, so that I could listen afterwards and then make my own notes and to help you.
Okay, thank you.
The extra time for exams as well, because some people were slow writers and were slow thinkers. So to articulate our thoughts, we need time to do that. So that's why I was giving extra time for my exams as well to help.
Okay, so you were given extra time.
Yeah.
For emphasis, can we say teachers? We tend to want to hurry our learners. We like that patience. Hurry up, finish. You're still on number 1 for 5 hours. You want to stay there, eh? You know those comments. It can discourage someone who is struggling with dyslexia. So giving extra time to a child is not a bad idea.
It's not.
Rather helping the child. It's not too much. That's the word. It's not too much. They must complete their tasks at their own pace. That's what that means. Right. Thank you so much. Please, are there any questions? Okay, I saw something. Someone said you should please share links to your articles. They would like to read the articles. Also, are there questions? Do we have questions for her in the chat box? Someone said very inspiring, Mr. Anyekan. He said very inspiring story, Chinelo. You're indeed a superstar. A lot of work is needed in the area of inclusive learning, awareness, and advocacy. Let me see. Okay. Sorry, I can't. I'm trying to navigate. Okay, I think what I can see, he's saying you did a good job and you're a rock star, you're a superstar, and we need to still do more in the area of advocacy, right? Well done. A lot of warm comments. Thank you. Very inspiring stories. Oh.
My dad wants to say something.
Oh, okay. Sir, yes, please go ahead. Go ahead and share. Would like to hear from you. You can unmute yourself. Unmute yourself to speak. You have to unmute. Let me ask you to unmute. Okay.
And you need to unmute yourself.
You need to unmute yourself. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. You have to unmute yourself. Use the touch your mic, tap your mic to be able to speak. I would have loved to hear what you have to say, sir. Can you try?
Let me be smart.
He's trying so hard. Oh, okay. He's trying so hard. I think he will join in again. Let's see how it goes. All right. Is there anyone who has questions? Any questions you might like to ask? Anybody with questions? Okay. If there are no questions, we'll please. Okay. If you have questions, we'll have to go on. All right, if we have questions, please send it in the chat box. Thank you so much for sharing, Chinelo. Okay, someone has something to say? Mr. Aniakangabu, you want to ask a question? Hi, okay, go ahead.
Yes, hello, hi, congratulations to the team and everyone participating. Chinelo, that was an inspiring story, you know, because saying live is one thing, living through that experience is another thing entirely. Now, I wanted to ask the conveners specifically, how do we take this advocacy to where it really matters, to, let's say, the regulators around, you know, academic policies for the enforcement of inclusive learning? Because what Chinelo experienced is something that children should not have to experience, especially as they're trying to navigate life. I think I would say I have some sort of, you know, similar, you know, but not to the degree that she mentioned, because I had difficulties early on, you know, but with a lot of spanking and enforcement, I sort of was able to catch up. So how do we move the advocacy around this further? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for asking that important question. First, I'd like you to know that you can start from where you are. Start from where you are. If, for instance, you're working in a school setting and start looking out, I want you to be on the lookout. I'm speaking to teachers now. I'm speaking from a teacher's dynamics, right?
Hello.
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 We can hear you. We can hear you. Hello.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is Professor Sibo.
Okay, I'm going to answer your questions afterwards. Yes, sir. Please go on. Let's hear you.
Yeah. I'd say I want to use this avenue to publicly apologize to Chinelo for what she went through.
No.
Oh my
God. I feel terrible. As a professor of medical parasitology, I didn't even know what it was, and I put her through all these issues that she went through, and I feel sad. And I want to ask each and everyone to help me apologize to her, to forgive me, and we'll go from now on. I'll now have a foundation where I'm taking on dyslexia as one of the things I need to do. I have a son working with me and other people, and I want to see what laws we can change to try and help dyslexic children. At least change our pattern of training for the teachers, and also see how we can expand and develop the identification factors to enable us identify children with this situation, and then see what we can do about it. I guess I want to devote the rest of my earthly life to doing that, just to show her that I feel sorry for her, to know that And I love that so much. Because when
Go on. Yes, sir. We are listening to you. Uh-oh, it seems something happened to his mic. Hello, sir, are you there? Hello, sir, are you there? Oh, wow. Okay, he's speaking, but we can't hear him. Hello, sir, are you there? Wow. This is something. I'm so...
and also for Minister of Education to try and get the issue well focused in our country, because we know of dyslexia. Over 40 million children are afflicted with this condition, and that's not a mean number. So I think it's that time all hands should be and must be on deck to try and then save these children from the trauma that being caused not only by genetic environmental conditions, but also by us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think this just goes to answer the question that was earlier asked. Yes.
Yeah, I think it does really. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, it does answer the questions. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining in. Let me add that I got to know about Chinelo from Professor Ezigbo. You know, we just kept talking. He got my contact. I don't even know how he got my contact, but we had a very amazing conversation. And he shared his experience. He shared your experience, Chinelo. And I was like, oh, wow, I had no clue. And when I met you in person, it was also an exciting one for me because although I had learners who had this experience with dyslexia, but I was hearing it from you as an adult that this is my experience, this was my struggle, and this was how I triumphed from this. So yes, thank you. And this just goes on to say that as dyslexia advocates, nothing you're doing is too much. Nothing you're doing is too much. Keep creating the awareness, keep sharing, keep letting others know that dyslexia exists and they can use their potentials to become powerful people in the future tomorrow. All right, so we'll just move on to the next session because we don't want to prolong the webinar, right? So let's move on to the next session quickly. Meticulous, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so quickly, Meticulous, let's over to you. Go ahead and please share.
Okay, so that was really inspiring. Yes, Chinelo, thank you for sharing your story. And I hope with this inspires others to hope and know that dyslexic learners or learners with dyslexia can still thrive. With the right support, with the right interventions, with modifications and accommodations in the classroom setting, we can help them achieve their potentials. Thank you so much, Ms. Chinelo. We really appreciate you sharing your story with us. So on to the next presenter. This is so touching for me. I feel so honored to welcome my own academic mentor in person of Dr. Dominic Oko. I am who I am today because my lecturer, Dr. Dominic Oko, believed in me. So a right scholar filled with so much impact. Let me quickly read his profile. Dr. Dominic Oko is a senior lecturer in the Department of Early Childhood and Special Education at the University of Uyo, Nigeria. His area of specialization is special education with particular exercise in learning disabilities. As well as Master of Education, ED, and Doctor of Philosophy, PhD degrees from the prestigious University of Nigeria. Dr. Oko's teaching and research interest includes learning disabilities, education of students with mathematics disabilities, and emotional and behavioral disorders. He has published extensively in both international and national journals. He is also a consultant in special needs education. Please do me the honor. I feel so honored to have Dr. Dominic Oko. Help Dr. Dominic Oko. Please, let's see your energy in the chat box. Let's welcome him. Give him a loud round of applause in the chat box. Dr. Dominic, are you there?
Is it there? Okay, is he there? Dr. Dominic, are you there? Please, can you unmute yourself to speak? I don't think we can hear him. Dr. Dominic, are you there? Hello, sir. Are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, great.
I'm here.
Oh, great. Oh, great. Good to have you, sir. So over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I am very excited to be here. I have enjoyed all the sessions here, and particularly, I have enjoyed the story of Ms. Chinelo, and it's very inspiring. And sincerely, if this webinar ends with the story of Chinelo, we will have achieved everything. It is very exciting to talk about dyslexia. I am particularly concerned about children with dyslexia because I know the stigma, I know the Are you still hearing me? Are you still hearing me? Oh my God.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right. Everything about what we have heard today, how that children with dyslexia are stigmatized, in fact, they are frustrated in class, and all of that boil down to the fact that there is a misunderstanding about the functioning of the brains of the children with dyslexia. And that is why it is important for us this time to look at dyslexia, understanding the brain behind the brilliance. That's very important, and I'm so excited to talk about that today. All right, let's go to the next slide. I'm sure everybody is seeing the slide. Is everybody seeing the slide? Oh, am I alone here?
Yes, we can see the slide. I can see the slide.
Okay, thank you.
Slide.
Okay.
I can see the slide, sir.
Meticulous, please, you can help me go to the next slide. I am having network issues in my area, so I position my system in such a way that I wouldn't want to miss the network. So Meticulous will help me with the slide whenever we need it. So let's go to the next slide, please.
Please give me a minute. Sorry, my network threw me out. I'll share from my end.
Exactly what.
Okay, sorry, I'll share again from my end.
Okay.
Okay, yes. All right, so we're on the next slide, right?
No, you are still on the first one. Yes, thank you. We are on the next slide.
One.
Yes, thank you. While we try to understand the brain behind the brilliance, let's look at the perspective on learning, on dyslexia. The first speaker had actually hinted a lot about this perspective on dyslexia. One, we will understand that most of the times when teachers don't understand the learner, when the teachers understand the problem of the learner, when the parents don't understand the problem of the child, everybody tends to misunderstand the child. And so that becomes very frustrating for the child with dyslexia. But I like us, why we do this awareness, I like us first to understand that dyslexia is a learning disorder that affects reading and spelling abilities. Now, it affects reading and spelling abilities, but that child could do a lot of other things. That child could be very proficient in a lot of other things, artistic things. It will be very effective. But when it comes to reading and spelling, that child has a disorder that is called dyslexia. And then we understand that dyslexia actually is not a result of low intelligence. So children with dyslexia do not have low intelligence. Now, that's the reason for those children able to perform very highly in other areas of learning. So I like us to note here that children with dyslexia actually will have average intelligence, or most times above average intelligence. So when a child has dyslexia, please let's note that it is not a result of low intelligence. That's number one. Number two, let's also note that dyslexia is a result of a lack of effort. Like the other speaker mentioned before, that the children with dyslexia put more effort. In fact, they put much more effort than a typical child. So dyslexia is not a matter of lack of effort. Children with dyslexia are not lazy. So teachers should understand that, parents should understand that. So if they do not have low intelligence, if they are not lazy, then what is their problem? We're going to look at that. But before then, let me again emphasize the point the other speaker had made before, that dyslexia affects 5 to 10% of the school population. The school population. Dyslexia affects 5 to 10% of the school population. When the other speaker was talking, she was actually referring to a global issue, but this time we are narrowing it down to school population. If you gather school children, if you gather all school-age children, you will find that 5 to 10% of them will have dyslexia. And so, what's the problem of these children, we may ask? The problem is this: Dyslexia is a neurological difference, not a deficit. Now, I'd like to say that neurological difference simply means that it is a brain difference. Neurological means brain. And so it just means that the brain of these children function differently, process information differently, and then work differently from the brain of a typical child. So it is actually not a defect, but a difference. So let's note that one of the strong things we are going to take away from here is that dyslexia is not a deficit. Oh, that person, could you please mute your mic? Interfering with us. Okay, thank you. So one of the strong points we're going to take away from here is that dyslexia is not a deficit, but a difference. So if we understand that children who have dyslexia do not exactly have deficits, all they have is just a difference, and they will be able to deal with that difference to give them the support they need to thrive. The next point we want to look at is that dyslexia is not a result of, okay, we have mentioned that before. Let's go to the next slide.
Okay, sir. Okay. Can you see this? Right. Can you see the next one? Okay, great.
Yes, I am seeing it. I hope every other person is seeing too.
Okay.
Okay. In this slide, we are going to look at the brain structure and function of children with dyslexia. Now, like I said before, it is not a deficit, but a difference.
Can you all hear me?
I can hear you.
Meaning that the difference in brain structure, and there's a difference in brain structure and function of dyslexic. I hope I'm not talking to myself, am I?
Oh, no.
Is everybody hearing
sir.
me?
We can hear you.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Yes,
Okay.
sir, we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay, so we are saying that the difference actually lies in the responsible for reading and language processing. You will agree with me that the human brain has different parts, many parts, and different parts of the brain are responsible for different human activities. So, for dyslexia is responsible for reading and language processing, function differently, processes information differently. And so that difference is what becomes a matter to these children. And teachers who don't understand, by the time they get in contact with these children, and it looks like their best is not producing any reasonable result, they feel frustrated. And as a teacher feels frustrated, the frustration is also transferred on the child. That's why it is important that in this program, we understand as teachers, as parents, and significant others in the life of a child with dyslexia, understand that a dyslexic child actually has a brain structure that functions differently. We're going to see how that happens in the child. Dyslexic brain, let's note that dyslexic brains process information differently. And the difference, how it functions differently is this. A typical child, if a typical child takes a book to read, first, he will identify letters to be able to pronounce the word, connect words in group to make sense. But for a dyslexic child, his brain, what happens in his brain when he takes a book to read is that his brain want to process that information holistically, while a typical child pays attention to details. A dyslexic child in his brain process that information holistically. So he takes a book to read. One of the reasons why reading becomes very difficult for him is that his brain processing want to process that a sentence, so to say, letters that transform into words and then into sentences. He's going to look at it as a whole, and that becomes very difficult for him to read. That's one. And then number two, while he processes information, like Chinelo said, Chinelo made a very profound statement when she was talking, and I think that we should take note of that carefully as teachers and parents. Chinelo said when she tries to look at the board or try to read, that words begin to jump here and there. Now, that statement is very profound. And if we must provide an enabling environment, a support and accommodation for children with the words on the board or in the book do not move. But because the brain, it makes it look like the words are jumping. The words actually do not jump, but the processing going on in the brain is what makes it look like it's jumping. And so we must take note of that so as to be able to help children with dyslexia. The next thing we want to look at is that now, how their brain works is that the area of the brain that is responsible for language processing, for example, which is the left hemisphere of the brain. The activities of that area of the brain, instead of it is reduced, it slows down. It processes information gradually, slowly, and so it becomes difficult for the child to keep up with the pace of learning. But it is not the fault of the child, it's just that that's how his brain, that area of his brain that's responsible for language processing actually functions and processes information. So we need to keep up with that to help the child to understand that it is not the fault of the child, not of the teacher, but what goes on that and keep pace with the processing of information that goes on in the brain. Again, the right hemisphere of the brain that is associated with visual spatial skills and creativity. That part of the brain, the right hemisphere, process information faster than the left hemisphere. And so anything that has to do with visual tend to be very fast in them because the activity in that part of the brain occur very fast, faster than that the left hemisphere that is responsible for language and reading processing. Now let's go on. Let's also understand that this difference we are talking about, because it is not a deficit, this difference and abilities of these children. Most times we make those children get frustrated in learning. We get so frustrated because we don't understand that their difference leads to or contributes to unique strengths and abilities. So they possess a unique strength. They possess special and unique abilities that we must learn to emphasize so that they can. Let's take the next slide.
Okay, sir.
Are you there? Let's go.
Yes, sir. I am. Okay.
Slide.
Okay. I'm there. Can you see it? It's showing from my end. Can you see it?
Yes. Yes, I can.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it. Now, let's now look at the brilliance of dyslexia. Like I said, children with dyslexia actually they are that different. It's not a deficit. So, what makes them brilliant? How can we help them to become brilliant? To bring out exactly that unique strength and unique creative abilities that they have. Number one, you will find that their brain enhance creativity and problem solving. Problem solving. For example, if you write the letter, if you write the number 6, you write the number 6, and you turn it upside down, that letter 6 will become letter 9. Sorry, it will become number 9. That number 6 will become 9.
We can't.
A dyslexic child, if you are not cool as a teacher, sorry, I didn't get you. You're going to say something?
Network is bad. I can't hear you, sir. Network.
Can I go on?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Can I go?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now. Go on. Yes, sir. We can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
Is it still? Hello? Okay. Is it still there? Hello, sir. Dr. Dominic? Okay. So while we were waiting for Dr. Dominic, I'd just like to emphasize what he has said so far. First, dyslexia is a learning disorder that affects reading, spelling, and writing, of course, because if a child cannot read and spell, it would definitely affect their writing process. Also, dyslexia does not necessarily mean that a child is dull. It simply means they think differently, okay? It's a neurological difference. Just like Ms. Chinelo said, she told us, you know, she shared with us how her struggle and how she felt like she wasn't good enough. But in the right environment, with the right structures in place, she was able to thrive. I also have currently a learner. Dr. Dominic, are you back?
Yes, I'm back.
Oh,
I'm back.
great. All right. Please go on. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much for that. Thank you. Okay, so we are saying that there is a brilliance in dyslexia. Dyslexia have this enhanced creativity and problem solving. You see, children with dyslexia, you'll be shocked that they have this problem solving skill that is actually different from the typical child. The reason is that a child with dyslexia, his brain processes information holistically, and so it is very possible for them to solve problems easily. Secondly, they have these strong visual spatial skills. And now, what does it mean that they are visual thinkers? They can think, show them a picture. If you want to teach them and teach them well, teach them with pictures, teach them with something they can see, something they can handle, something they can do. And with this, their thinking process is enhanced. So they are actually visual thinkers. They are not cognitive thinkers, but visual thinkers. And that's a very good strength for them. Again, they have the ability to think outside the box, and they are very innovative. If we don't understand this, we would think that once we find a child with dyslexia, that child is never do well. That child is a problem to his teacher, is a problem to that child actually. And then I like to finally say they are very good examples of people, individuals with dyslexia who have made great impact. Let me not bore you with naming all of them again, because I remember that one of the earlier speakers had mentioned them by names and told us their story, especially Albert Einstein, that we all know has dyslexia, and we know what impact he has made in the world. But then let me tell you my story, my first encounter with a dyslexic person. Like Chinelo's story, I like to tell you my own story, my encounter, my first encounter with a dyslexic person. You will be shocked that I first met a dyslexic person in the university. This guy, when I met this guy, I met him in year 3. I met him in year 3. He was in year 3. And how I got to know about him is that he was actually about dropping out of the university. Because when he got to year 3, nobody understood him. Nobody was able to provide any help for him. He got out of it. How he was from primary school to secondary school and then into the university. But it was actually a big hurdle for him. It was a great frustration and he tried navigating from primary school to secondary school, despite the names he was called. According to him, his parents gave up on him. His teachers gave up on him. Almost everybody gave up on him except his elder sister. His elder sister kept telling him, you cannot be the only child in this family that will drop out of school, that will not be educated and all of that. And so the elder sister kept pushing him, kept helping him, and in the midst of those struggles, he was able to scale through primary school, scale through secondary school, and now the university. In the university, you know the workload of the university. And so in his year one, he has so much carryovers into year two. While he was battling with the carryover from year one into year two, he had so much carryover again from year two into year three. And in year three, it became too heavy for him. And so he decided to drop out. And one of those days I walked into him, saw him very, very downcast, and I looked at him and said, guy, what's your problem? Why are you like this? He tried not to talk, but I persuaded him until he decided to open up. And when he opened up to me about his carryovers, I thought it was
Okay, we can't hear you clearly anymore. You're breaking up.
carryovers, but I didn't know that it was a problem of reading. He could not read. Sincerely, university could not read. It was
Okay, you're really breaking up. Hello, Zach. Dr. Dominic, can you hear us? Okay, his network, please do pardon. His network is a bit bad.
honestly.
Hello, okay, please. We lost you at where you said you persuaded him to actually open up, and he did.
Okay. Thank you. So when he opened up, I offered to help him, and because I have this understanding of dyslexia, I took him in and told him that read your problem. I'm going to help you overcome that problem. He said, no, it's not possible. That he has had that problem since he entered school, from primary school to secondary school, and now he cannot read. He's in the university. There's no how he can read. I said, no, don't worry. I'm going to help you. So I took him every day. I told him, when you are free, when you don't have lectures, come to me. And then he came to me, and I found out that he could not just pronounce any word. Even his name, if you give him a book to write his name, 3 different books, if you give him 3 different books to write his name, he will write his name differently in the 3 books. he will either omit a letter or put another letter, omit a letter or add a letter, and just be mixing up things like that. So when I started with him, I started teaching him letters of the alphabet in the university. You can't imagine that. I started teaching him letters of the alphabet in the university.
University level. Oh my God.
The university. Now I told him that all of these letters, they have sounds, and it is the sounds that help us read. So as we keep naming the letters, their sounds, and all of that, then we came to vowel sound. So I started teaching him one letter word, 2-letter words, 3-letter words, 4-letter words, like that.
Wow. Wow. I'm sure he probably must have been thinking that it's his village people that are after him, you know, that feeling. You can't read, you're struggling, you're trying to even spell your own name and it's not working. You might be thinking, maybe it's one uncle at the village that I didn't greet during Christmas that has tied my brain somewhere, not knowing that he had dyslexia. At university level, it's such a heartbreaking to hear. Okay, sir, we lost you at where you said you started teaching him how to read. Can you hear us? Hello? Are you there? Please do pardon Dr. Oko. Yeah, I think his network is acting up today. Or we would be able to finish up in good time. Yes, we'll be able to finish up in good time. Hello, sir, are you back? Hello? Hello, sir, are you there? Okay. So just to do a quick recap, while we're still waiting for Dr. Oko to join us. Hello, sir, are you there? Oh, okay.
I'm
great.
here.
Okay, great.
Okay. Let me just quickly round up because of this network.
Yes.
So I started teaching him sight words like as, he, she, to, come, go, and all of that. Those sight words. Then teaching him sight words. And then I will use sight words, form a sentence like, he is going. As I am here.
Such a heartbreaking thing to hear, really. Such a heartbreaking thing, you know. Yes, I can read this. Hello, doctor, are you back? It says from Mr. Niekan, it says urgent action is needed in the areas of educating teachers, especially in our rural communities, so that these children are not further traumatized. That is indeed correct. Yes, sir. Oh, we're struggling to hear you. Hello?
To form sentences.
Oh, wow. Okay, so back to I just want to use Nigeria as a case study. Now, while I stumbled on the word dyslexia, a lot of people, a lot of teachers are not aware of the term dyslexia. I think more advocacy is going on currently in Nigeria on dyslexia. However, I put it to you that it is mostly in Abuja or Lagos where you hear of such. What happens to children in rural areas, really? What happens to children or teachers who have to deal with children who have this in the nooks and crannies of other states? So as a dyslexia advocate, because you are one now, you will do well to share with just about any person you come in contact with. Share your knowledge. Let them know that dyslexia exists. It's not necessarily written on the face, like we said, it's a neurological disability. So share with others and let them know, join in their awareness that dyslexia exists and it is a struggle that we must combat right now, right? Okay, Dr. Dominic, are you back? Is he back?
Yes, I'm back.
Oh, great.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, great. Go on, sir.
Okay. To cut a long story short, that young man today, I'm very, very proud to say that he has just finished his youth service.
Wow.
Yes, he finally graduated and went for youth service. When he got his call-up letter, he called me and was very excited. I should gaze what is in his hand. I think I cannot do. He forwarded his call-up letter to me, and I was so excited that today he is able to overcome what used to be very frustrating for him, very stigmatizing for him. So I am saying that with the right support, with the right accommodation, if we understand with the child, then every dyslexic child will be able to navigate his way through learning. And that brings me to a saying that if we punish a child, we only teach him to punish others. But if we understand with a child, we teach him to understand with others. All right. Finally, let's look at how to unlock the potentials of dyslexic thinkers. Like I said before, they are visual thinkers. So the use of multi-sensory learning approach will actually help to unlock the potentials of these dyslexic thinkers. Dyslexic children will need to see something, hear something, and then do something. He must be able to learn, then we must take note of this multi-sensory learning approach. He should be able to see something, hear something, and then do something. So you don't just teach a dyslexic child with words. You don't just teach him with sounds. Let him see what you're talking about. Let him hear how it sounds, and then let him touch what you actually talk about, especially like tracing. You should be able to trace the letter, be able to see the letter, and should be able to hear the sound of the letter, and that will help unlock the potential of that child. Number two, it will need assistive technology. Again, Chinelo mentioned text-to-speech technology that was used to assist her, and that's very important. Text-to-speech. Children with dyslexia may not be able to read, may not be able to put down what is in their mind, but they will be able to say it. So let's give them opportunity to say what they know, and then let there be a device that will be able to translate what they are saying into text. And there are those technologies around that will be able to help that child. What our problem in Nigeria is that is the availability of those technology and then the implementation. Then there's also a mind mapping tool and all of that to help all of those technologies to help the child. Number 3, accommodation and modification. Modification. Look, the classroom. I want to talk to teachers now particularly. Teachers, when teachers are not do not understand this children, the teachers make the classroom very hot, like a hot seat for children with dyslexia, and that makes them become or develop school phobia. But if a teacher understands how to accommodate the child, how to make modifications for the child. For example, a child with dyslexia does not have to finish classwork the same time with other people. He does not need to finish, what is it called now? A comprehension passage the same time with other people. He needs his own time. He needs extra time. And we should be able to give him that extra time. One of the reasons that we must give him the extra time is that his brain processes information differently. And it takes time for that information to process and then give him feedback. If we don't give him that time, then the brain will not be able to give him the feedback that he will produce as a result. For instance, if you are a teacher here, or you have worked with students who are dyslexic before, you will agree with me that a teacher in primary, say primary 2, okay, let's say primary 3, a teacher in primary 3 would have struggled to teach a child something, and she has done her best, struggled her best to teach that particular thing. But it looks like the child didn't understand what he's saying, doesn't know what he's saying. But when that child gets to primary 4, if the primary 4 teacher may be saying something related to that, and then the child now begins to remember to say, oh, that was what primary 3 teacher was trying to say. The reason is that that information was still processing in his brain until this teacher, the teacher at primary 4, now was able to unlock that information. And the child just remember, yes, teacher in primary 3 was trying to say that, and I didn't understand that time. That's how the brain of dyslexic child works. And so we must be able to give them time. Even in examination, we don't need to make a child with dyslexia finish his exam at the same time. If we are able to give them extra time, make all of these modifications here and there, we'll be able to unlock their potentials. And then note-taking assistance. Children with dyslexia cannot take notes. The reason why they cannot take note is that they have issues with spelling. And so, if you want to try with dyslexia to take notes, how do you do it? How would you do that? Now, look at a word. Look at a word like tool. T-O-O-L. You want the child to spell that word, T-O-O-L. And you just ask the child to spell tool. It will be difficult for him, but if you tell him this, he already knows how to spell the word tool. T-O. You ask him, can you spell tool? He said yes. Okay, write the word tool, and then he writes T-O. And then you tell him, add O to it. He adds O to it. Now, that word now become the word tool. So he has known the word tool and progressed from two to two. And then you ask him to add L to the word two. Now he has the word tool. So he has progressed from to, and then tool. If you do that for him, you find out that anytime he hears the word tool, he will remember that that word starts from the word to. And then if you add O to it, it becomes two. And then you add L to it, it becomes tool. So we must be able to assist the child in this manner to be able to unlock his potentials. And then finally, let me say that we must build self-advocacy and self-awareness. Self-advocacy, what we are doing now, we are doing advocacy. But this advocacy that we are doing may not help the child with dyslexia, but it might help the teacher, help the parents. But the child with dyslexia, this our advocacy may not be that profitable to him until we incorporate self-advocacy, where the child should understand himself. We should make the child understand himself. We make the child be aware of himself, and then the child should be able to talk to other people about himself. The teacher wants him to do something. No, he said, please, this is how I'll be able to do, this is what I'll be able to do. Please, I do my things differently. I learn differently. So can you please give me time to do this, to do that? The child should be able to advocate for himself because he understands himself, he knows himself, he is aware of his strength and the things that he can do with ease. If we come to that point, then our advocacy will be complete, will be wholesome, and then it will be very, very profitable to teachers, parents, and the child, and all of us. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'm super excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing such an insightful and informative session with us. I have learned a lot. I've been writing. This is my book. I've learned a lot. You know, you've said so much. In fact, it just looks as if our slides are intertwined. And funny enough, we prepared our slides individually. So it's a good thing. Thank you. Yes, we have someone who wants to ask a question. Mr. Anyakangambu, we can please raise up your hand and speak.
Thank you. Thank you again. Thank you to the conveners. Again, this is really laudable work, putting this idea together and showing awareness in this particular issue. Now, I want to speak on two things. There are there's a lot of responsibility on the teacher's aspect, on the teacher's table, because being able to understand what is going on in your classroom and how each learner interacts with the learning experience falls heavily on the teacher. I wanted to ask if there is a curriculum that can be simplified, that can be put together to be showcased to the educational body authorities, I know Professor Ezigbo spoke about the NGO and the legislative aspects of it, and I would like us to benefit from the goodwill generated by this conversation. So, is there or is this something that's work in progress? Is there a curriculum that could be easily, shared across rural community schools and even urban schools? Because even in Abuja, there's a lot of teachers that don't really know much about, this dyslexic experience. That's one aspect. And then secondly, I want to emphasize something you brought in, and that was the last leg of your lecture, Doctor, which is self-advocacy, which is something that it was like a light bulb went off in my head, because at the end of the day, nobody can advocate for you as much as you can advocate for yourself. So I think it would be really strong messaging to encourage these children to, first of all, understand what is going on in their brain, in their neurology, and that it's not a defect that is to them, but it's just a different perspective, and how you can encourage that kind of, vocalness that comes from understanding yourself, being proud of who you are, and asking for what you need. How that can be emphasized further and even brought into the messaging and, across schools and teacher trainings and all of those. If the conveners can put up a packet like this that can address those issues, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Dr. Oko, do you want to respond to that?
Well, yes, I may. It was actually a contribution and observation which is very correct. It's not a question per se, but I also like to say that one, his observation has placed the bulk of it on the table of the organizers of this program. So I want to leave that to the organizers. The other part of it is that, well, a lot is on the table of the teacher actually. And if you look at it, it looks like the job of a teacher is so cumbersome. But what I need to say is that teachers should understand that the curriculum, well, while we await the work of some organizations that are working with the National Assembly and with policymakers to give us simplified curriculum, I will say that the teacher, one of the things I tell teachers every time is that whatever curriculum you have as a teacher, you are the authority, you are the only authority to be able to interpret that curriculum. And you interpret the curriculum based on your learners. You see, teachers lose sight of this. Now, look at, if we have a lawyer, the lawyer knows that his work is to interpret the Constitution. And so it is the interpretation that he uses to defend his client. But, it's the same thing with teachers. The teacher should be able to interpret his curriculum in such a way that his learners will benefit from it. But what we do normally as teachers is that whatever curriculum is given to us, we take them like that and try to put it on the children. And so it looks like the work of the teacher is it's very enormous. But when the teacher is able to interpret his curriculum, like you want to teach your class, and you are able, if you are able to identify that in your class there are dyslexic learners, and you want to teach a particular topic, what would I do to this topic such that dyslexic learners will not be left behind? That's the way to interpret your curriculum. And then you break your curriculum down to such a point that your dyslexic learners will benefit from it. That's why we talk about time. Well, when we want to beat time, we want to cover the syllabus. We want to do the work so that when ministry comes or whoever the supervisor is, you will see that you are doing your work. We will end up doing the work on paper and not on the children. So, as much as I understand the situation of the teachers, I also want to put it to teachers that teachers should, in their little way, be able to interpret their curriculum, the existing curriculum, in such a way that dyslexic learners in their classes will also benefit from the existing curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. But I would still also like to add to what you said that I don't think it's going to be a bad idea if we push it out as a policy, right? You know, to create also just it's important that we teachers we own our curriculum and then we're able to structure it in such a way that will benefit dyslexic learners. However, I think it will also be a very good policy, right? That can help teachers across all over the world. That's my 2 cents. Okay, thank you, sir. I think another person has a question. Mr. Adams, okay, can you please quickly say your question so that we can have our next session quickly. Go on.
Okay, I might just confirm if, can I be heard? Like, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, my question is actually twofold, but first off, I would like to say that it's actually a delight. I'm glad that I'm a part of this webinar. Kudos to the organizers and to the resource persons that have been lined up who have made this webinar an enriching one. Thank you so much. It's been quite beneficial. The question I would like to ask in 2 phases. One is that I think a lot has been made about teachers in dispensing information to children with dyslexia, but it seems like there is another faction of this whole infrastructure that is being left out, which is the parents. I know Chinelo talked about parent-child relationship, but we've actually not talked about the parent-teacher side of it, because I'm aware, like for me, I stay in Abuja. Even though we have a few schools in the urban area, which I think they are actually conscious of dyslexia children, like the school where I work, we actually have a unit called the SEN, children, a department for children with special needs. But I know that a whole lot of schools, we don't have such arrangements. So many times parents, they bring these children to you and they just want to see result. They want to see their child improve. Some of them will tell you, my child is, in my former school, he used to be like this, he used to be like that. And then you have discovered that this child might have some learning difficulty. So it's one thing. So one of the questions is, what is the right way to communicate such to these parents? Because I feel it's a major side of it. What's the right way to communicate this to these parents? And then secondly, I would also like to ask, does dyslexia, because I heard the doctor, he was talking about dyslexia being a disability that affects a child's writing and reading. I would like to ask, does it have anything to do with a child's ability to retain and concentrate? Like, does it affect a child's retention and concentration? I currently have a child at my disposal. When I'm with that child, he tends to be distracted very easily. Like, you have to be on him perpetually to get him to be conscious of himself. So he tends to have this distraction within him, and then before you know it, he has lost consciousness. So, and I also noticed that he has short memory. Like, he doesn't retain as much as you would expect him to retain, and even the ones that he learns them. You go over it with him, and maybe when he sits for tests, he ends up forgetting a chunk of it. So does that have anything to do with dyslexia? That's my question. So I don't know if it's the doctor that is properly placed to answer the question, or if it's Miss Mary. I don't know, but it's just something bothering my mind.
Sorry,
Thank you so much for the privilege.
can I answer this with using my experience?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Can I answer this using my own experience?
Yes,
so
go ahead.
what you're describing sounds
Yes, please.
as well, growing up as well. Even now, my attention span is quite short and I struggle with retaining information. I have to reread and reread and reread for the information to stick. So it can either be two things, because when I was diagnosed with dyslexia, dyspraxia, and a touch of ADHD. So the dyspraxia one is coordination. I struggle with my left and my right, and the ADHD it comes with concentration. So maybe it might be a slight ADHD, but this with retaining information, yes, I struggle with retaining information. Yes, I do, and I get easily distracted. So when I'm studying, I do a five minutes, and then I have to do something else to get my mind to it. Sometimes as well, when I'm studying, when there's a lot of I study in distraction, when there's a lot of noise, my brain is able to assimilate information more. When it's quiet, I'm easily distracted when it's quiet. So things like trying to find out what his learning styles, the child's learning style is. If he's easily distracted, is he able to concentrate for 5 minutes or 2 minutes to get that information in? Is repetition something that they can do? If you repeat that information a couple of times, is he able to stick? Because that helped. That helped me out as well. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, it's about seeing the child and paying attention and just doing things in short bursts, not so that you don't overwhelm them with too much information. Yeah, I think that's it.
So I have taken notes also of your questions, right? I'm going to answer it, but I just want quickly my co-host Meticulous to quickly share her session. Okay, so we don't stretch it for too long, but however, I'm going to respond to your questions. I've taken note of it. All right, Meticulous, are you there? Are you there? Do we have Meticulous? Is she there? Is she in? Okay, I think her network must have thrown her out or something. All right, quickly, let me just give you a simple breakdown on how we communicate this feedback to parents. Now, a child has a learning need. We see that this child, there's a gap in the child's learning in class. No matter the strategies you try to use, the child is still not catching up. The first step as a teacher, what you should do is first communicate to your line manager. Let them know that this person is struggling with learning in the classroom. When you communicate with the line manager, how it is done at my workplace, the line manager gives the SEND department this feedback. They let them know that, okay, a particular child is struggling. Can you please come to just do a very short assessment on this child? Now, the SEND, a particular person working in the SEND department honors this invitation, comes during the classroom, sees the learner, gives an assessment of the learner quick assessment of the learner and then gives the line manager the feedback alongside the teacher. The teacher will be present while this feedback is ongoing. If she feels there is a need, okay, if she feels like there's a need to actually assess this child, this learner, with the right assessment tools, she goes ahead to state it. Now, we have a learning disability specialist. She has her own, she has an organization, she has a structure, right, where she has the right assessment tools in place. Please, teachers, if you are here, I want to state this. Do not say a child is dyslexic if not confirmed or assessed so. Do not confront any parent and tell them, oh, your child is dyslexic, this child is too dull, this child. No, do not do that. Please first communicate your concerns to your line manager. And I think it will be a professional thing to do if the management is able to contact the parents of that child, as we do in where I work, contact the parents of this child. The parents sit alongside the teacher and then the SEN representative. Now, we give the feedback, we show her data, we show the parents data. For instance, maybe a mom or a dad, we show them data. This is based on the data we have. Your child is struggling to read, your child is struggling to blend words, and these are the criteria, or these are the set goals or the set targets we have for children who are within the ages 5 to 7 years old, right? When you state that and you do it with a proof, there is evidence. The parents now, you can now convince the parents further, tell them, okay, we don't have the right assessment tools to tell you that this child has a learning disability. However, there is a professional that you can go to. My school, where I work, we have an assigned professional, right? So we give the contact and we link up the parents with this professional. She does the assessment and gives the school feedback and also the parents' feedback. When it has been confirmed that this child has a learning difficulty, it is easier for the parents to accept it. Do you understand? It's easier. They're like, oh, okay, this is coming from a professional angle. This is the evidence. These are the assessments that have been put in place. And then they can now be open to the whole idea of you giving them strategies and methods on how to help their child further. So that's how it is done. Do not, please, I know as much as we want you to be dyslexia advocates, don't jump into conclusions that this child is dyslexic without an assessment done. There are various criteria, however, that you can check, right? Various tools that we will share on the WhatsApp group that you can use to, however, just give a general assessment, but that is not the final one. Okay, it's not the final one. A professional will assess. Okay, I don't want to talk too much. Please, let's make welcome Meticulous. Are you here? Are you back now? Is she in? I just saw her a couple of minutes ago. Miss Meticulous, are you in? Okay. Wow. Okay. Ms. Chinelo, quickly, I want you to, you said you wanted to respond to Mr. Anyekan Gamble's question earlier. So can you please just say something while I try to get Meticulous to join in? Thank you.
In my act, because the question he asked about, he mentioned that that he was flogged as a child, and I was like, there are laws. There are the Child Act laws in 2003 in Nigeria prevents teachers from spanking kids that struggle with learning. So there are laws in Nigeria that talk about inclusive learning, but the problem is that there is no funding and there's no implementation of all those of that laws. So if you look at my article, if you look at my article, where is it? I've put it in the chat. Breaking the silence on dyslexia in Nigeria. In that article, there are loads of laws and policies that Nigeria has for inclusive learning, but that is not being put in place. So if Mr. Gamble, the questions that those answers are in the article. That's all I have to say. And I'm going to have to sign out now. I'm really, really sorry. This was interesting. Ruth, thanks for inviting me, but I have another engagement, if that's okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you. We appreciate. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Okay. Meticulous is not joining in anytime soon. However, we're going to reschedule a time, probably have a session on WhatsApp where she would get to share with us what she has to share. We'd like to wrap up this session. Is there any person who has one or two things to say? What has your experience been so far? What has your experience been so far? I'll just take one person. Anyone, kindly indicate with a raise of hand. Anybody wants to share what their experience has been so far? How has this webinar been? What's your take home? Just one thing you're taking back with you. Anybody? Okay, someone wants to say something?
May I?
Oh, okay. Great, please go ahead.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. In fact, this webinar has far, it's far more than what I expected. Like the information in it is very much loaded. And my take home is that there's a whole lot to do. I speak for myself, where we grew up in an environment where we see these things. It happened to even our siblings. It happened to some of us, but we just didn't know what it was. And it's quite good that at a time like this, our eyes are being opened to it. I, for one, I've been in the education line a few years, and it wasn't until recently I came across even the word dyslexia. That's like 2 years ago, so it shows that a lot of grounds needs to be covered. A whole lot of children have been unfairly, will I say, criticized and ostracized, and they were not given the chance that they needed. They weren't given the credit that they deserved. So what I would take home is this is actually, the buck actually stops on everyone's court here, that we must do something, and this information has to go viral. We have to take this campaign to the level that it should get to. So my take home is that there's a lot to do. There's a whole lot to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that solid input. I appreciate it. We would wrap up here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. It was such an awesome and amazing time with you all. I would share more documents, articles in the comment section. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Bye for now. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye. Thank you for joining in.